Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me explain my appearance. I'm not trying to be cool by wearing the jeans and the boots, nor am I trying to say, hey, I'm one of you. I've been on Delta Airlines today, which today stands for didn't even leave the airport. My luggage is somewhere. I don't know where. And neither does Delta. And I barely made it here. A canceled flight and then a rearranged one that became late. And then in the very back of the plane, I think that the only thing behind me was perhaps the lavatory. And so everyone else was casually getting off, and I was saying, I've got to get to the NRA. And I was hoping that Rosie O'Donnell was not sitting in front of me. Obviously, she is not here today. But anyway, I do apologize that I've not been able to dress a little better for the occasion. I feel looking out here with all of these suits and ties about as appropriately dressed as George Soros might feel at the American Legion convention. So I want to say I will hope to make a return engagement to the NRA and dress a little more for the occasion. I also want to say what an honor it is to be here with fellow NRA members. And I didn't just join last year. I've been a part of the organization for a while, and not only am I a member, but my wife is as well. And you don't really have to worry about me, but you really do need to watch out for her. She is far more dangerous, I'm pretty sure. Being here today is a thrill and an honor, and I'm looking forward to visiting with you about one of the most important and special gifts that our founding fathers gave us, and that's the Second Amendment. I sometimes marvel that there are people in our country who will vociferously defend the importance, the primacy, and the value of the First Amendment, our freedoms to speak, to assemble, to worship, the freedom of the press, and somehow act as if the Second Amendment is of lesser importance to our freedom than the First. I happen to be one of those people who believe that just as important as is the First Amendment, so is the Second. And today I would like to visit with you as to why I think that is so important. And I want to begin by saying that sometimes we get to these forums and numerous candidates are going to come to this podium and speak, and I don't think any of them are going to come here and tell you that they are for gun control or that they are somehow against the Second Amendment. I mean, that just wouldn't be a very smart thing to do, not in this crowd. But the real question is, can you believe them? And for that matter, can you believe me? And the reality is that you look at past behavior to get a pretty good sense of the credibility of present speech and the likelihood of future behavior. As a governor, as Wayne has said, I've signed numerous laws that help protect our Second Amendment rights. Signing a law that prohibited frivolous lawsuits against gun makers, which I think is a ridiculous way to try to exact money out of people who are not responsible for the acts of criminals. I also opposed Brady and I call it the so-called assault weapons ban, because most people who talk about assault weapons have not a clue of which they speak. In fact, I was in an interview with a group of reporters a few months ago, and someone said, I don't think anybody needs she said an automatic weapon for hunting. I said, probably they don't. But I know a lot of us really enjoy using a semi-automatic weapon for hunting. And she looked at me, she says, what's the difference? And I wanted to say, several digits of an IQ. But I didn't. One of the things that most importantly has to be remembered is that when asked about Second Amendment, often you'll hear candidates start talking about, well, I'm a hunter. And they immediately go into telling about the last time they went hunting, even if it was 50 years ago. And that's fine. I'm always happy to hear it. But when a person, when asked about the Second Amendment, begins to tell me about his or her hunting license, the first thing they've just told me is they have not a clue, they do not understand the essence of the Second Amendment. Now, I love to hunt. I'm a duck hunter, first and foremost, because I do live in Arkansas, and anyone's going to hunt in that state and doesn't duck hunt, I appreciate them because that's just more for me. I'm very grateful. I like to turkey hunt. Ran into Rob Keck at the Columbia, South Carolina airport this morning as he was leaving to go deer hunting, and I'm leaving to go make a speech. Life isn't fair. And Rob and Forrest Wood, who's the CEO and founder of Ranger Boats, the three of us were a team last year for the National Wild Turkey Federation in the one-shot Lander antelope hunt in Lander, Wyoming. And if you've ever heard of that, it's a marvelous event where teams of three compete against 8 other teams. And you only get one shot. And the team who has the most score, which means that all 3 of your members have to get an antelope, and then it's based on everything from the distance, and you have judges out there with you and a whole host of things. I just wanted to hurry up and get to the part where I tell you that our team won because we were the only team where all 3 of us got our antelope. And that day, Rob actually got the largest antelope of the day. Mine was a little later in the day, and frankly, the shot was one that was sort of a desperation shot. It turned out that it was a September day, 8 inches of snow in about 4 hours. We don't see snow in Arkansas maybe once in a year, and it's maybe in January. We darn sure don't see any in September, and I sure wasn't expecting any when I went up to Wyoming last year. So I really wasn't prepared for freezing cold, 30-degree crosswinds, and several inches of snow. And we stalked antelope all morning long and never got really close to one to get a shot. And finally, at about 12:30 in the afternoon, there was one across a ridge. I'm not making this up. The trajectory was upward. It was across up on a hill, and it looked pretty decent, but it was about 250 yards away. Now, that's just on my best day, within my range maybe. But with a stiff wind, snow, and one of the rules of the one-shot antelope hunt is that you cannot use any artificial support devices. You can't lean on a car or the hood of a truck or anything other than your own body. And so that kind of complicates the process and makes it a little more challenging. But it was one of those moments where I finally decided, we only get one shot. If you miss, your hunt is over. If you hit and you take the animal, then your hunt is over as well. And I decided that one way or the other, this hunt's about to be over because I can't stand any more of this cold. And somehow, by the grace of God, when I squeezed the trigger, my Weatherby 300 mag, which has got to be the greatest gun, I think, ever made in the form of a rifle for my sake in hunting. I've never squeezed the trigger and not gotten something. Did its work, and somehow the angels took that bullet and went right to the antelope, and my hunt was over in a wonderful way. So then I called Forrest Wood, and I said, Forrest, I just want you to know we're the only team in the running. Every other team is reported in except you. And if you get an antelope, we win the whole thing. If you don't, we compete for the other teams who only have 2 of their 3 members who get one. Don't feel any pressure, but don't you dare come back without the antelope. All that's to say, look, I'm a hunter.